Glad to hear. Glad to see that it finally happened.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so excited to be chatting with you and to introduce you to the community.
Well, I'm very honored to be part of the community, and thank you so much again for the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. I'm really excited, particularly for our chat, because when we first connected, you really inspired me with your niche modality and how you offer micro solutions for well-being. And I know that we'll get into all of that stuff. So I'm really excited to share it with the community and whoever's tuning in.
Yes, of course, of course. I feel like many more people out there really need those tools that are so beneficial and so powerful, right, for us. The mindfulness and the breathing, the mental fitness, everything that belongs to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we go into like the mental fitness stuff and your offerings, what I like to do is just kind of begin with you sharing a bit about your story, whatever you're willing to kind of reveal to us all about your awakening journey and how you've kind of walked the path, so to speak. I know that you are an corporate professional, ex-financier, turned holistic wellness practitioner. So,
Exactly.
I think many people will find that relatable, including myself, and would love to just hear that story if you could share it.
Of course, of course. I'm happy to share. So I'm actually coming really, like, as you said, from the business world. Been working around a decade in finance and economics and trading industry, all the related industries. And I never really felt fulfilled there, to be honest. I always felt like, oh, there's more to that. And my turning point was actually when I had a burnout coming from when I was still working in the financial industry. And for me, that was the sign to do things differently, to take care more of myself. And this is where I started to go deeper into yoga, into breath work, into meditation, into mindfulness and all those things. And that helped me to deal with stress better and to deal with other challenges in my life much better. And this is where I started to kind of like, okay, I want to share this knowledge that I had that helped me so much. And I saw so many of my colleagues going exactly the same way and didn't know what to do. They didn't have the education like myself, that didn't know the tools that they have inside of them, well, within their own resources, right? So this is for me where I began to do my certifications and to teach it to others, and where I started to offer actually mental fitness to basically approach more the financial industry that sometimes is a little bit preoccupied about those tools, but through mental fitness, it's more accessible to them because everyone wants to be fit, right?
Right. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And so that's where, you have such a timely offering and niche modality in the way that I sense that you position yourself as a holistic healer, as someone who helps to bridge these two worlds of the physical and spiritual, and providing these solutions to corporations, businesses, professionals who otherwise largely don't have access or just are too busy to actually take the time to let themselves come into seeing why it's so valuable, right? So maybe we can transition just into more of what you actually offer. Explain what you mean about micro solutions and talk to it in context
of course. So I'm basically trying really to adapt it to the, let's say, the normal person from the business world. Of course, it relates to everyone. And I know that time is precious. I've been there. Everything is planned. Everything is super busy. So people normally maybe even tend to be not even to start because they think there's so much time, a commitment that they have to do that they just don't want to do it, right? So I basically do offer micro solutions. Why micro? Because it's still practices that you can do, but with really little time commitment. So let's say if you know how to use your breath properly, you can just invest like a minute or two, right, to really see an effect on it, if you know how to do it. But for that, there is me who's teaching how to do that. It's totally okay to not know it. I neither knew it before. And so basically adapting it to the needs of the current society and of the business world as well. And this is the lack of time that we're having. This is the efficiency that we're looking for. And of course, the lack of responsibility that we're at some point a priority of our health, because there are so many other things we have to be responsible for and have to prioritize. So this is where my mental fitness solution come into place and say, okay, we can do it. You can take care of your mental health. You can be mentally fit, right, with your own resources, everything that you're already having, but you don't need to invest that much time. It's more about the consistency at the end. We know how it is when we go to the gym. When we go regularly, we're going to see the effects, not when we're just doing it once. And it's the same for mental fitness too, but it can be achieved with just a few minutes per day.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. I love that concept. I'm familiar with it myself, especially as someone who I'm an athlete or was an athlete. I played sports my whole life. You know, I worked in private equity. I was in finance. So that type of delivery model is one that really resonates well with me. And I know with so many others who kind of wanted to start inching their way into these practices as a way to ultimately help facilitate the integration into their daily lives so that they don't have to, you know, necessarily quit their jobs, fully unplug and go live in a cave somewhere. You know, they can actually weave this into their lives to help kind of facilitate and augment as opposed to replacing everything, right? So can you talk a bit about just what specific techniques and practices you use as a part of the umbrella of what you would call mental fitness?
Mm-hmm. Of course. So I'm mainly using a mindfulness-based approach. So there are many tools included. Many people confuse it and say it's just meditation. Meditation is one part of it. It's not only, it's also about using the meditation and outside of the practice, understanding how we can use this in our day-to-day life. So the increased awareness, self-awareness. There also comes into play compassion, empathy, which helps us later on also with the relationships with others and with ourselves, most importantly. As well as the breath control. So there are certain breathing techniques we can use that affect directly our mental state of mind, and it can achieve either a calm state. It can even help with anxiety. It can help with sleep, falling better asleep and sleeping better. It can also help you to be more awake and alert, right? It can really affect how your brain activity is working. So we can control that, as well as positive intelligence. So there is seeing your own probably saboteurs, your own mental, let's say, mental thought, the thoughts that we're having, the thought patterns that we're having that are not serving us anymore, but they are related to something that maybe happened in the past. So with the self-awareness, seeing this and start to really shift our thinking and create positive thoughts. And away from the negative thoughts. And this is called positive intelligence. So those are mainly the tools that I'm using to create mental fitness and mental awareness, mental agility, right? So we're more agile, and we see how the world is changing nowadays. It's much faster, much faster, much faster. So what we can do is to improve our flexibility, and all starts with our mind. So this is basically what I'm teaching there. It's not only about stress. It's of course about stress, and burnout prevention comes through a sustainable stress management, which also comes from the fact that we understand what is it that it's triggering us, right? How do we react, what is our autopilot, what is our automated reactions that are maybe not necessarily helpful for us, maybe we don't even like it, and how can we create different reactions, or actually instead of react, respond in a way that we wanted, right? Yeah, so those are all basically the tools and techniques that I'm using to improve mental fitness.
Yeah, I love it. And it just makes so much intuitive sense about, how we can kind of start to incorporate some of these practices bits and bits at a time, so that eventually you can, what I like to call presence power, which is just a way of, or your presence muscle, if you will, if you want to kind of tie it into fitness and strength building. But the idea is that, you're regaining more control. You're taking back the power that you've given to the world, so that you're constantly reacting to things, living in that survival state. And by using these modalities that you described, inch by inch, day by day, slowly allowing them to help you to manage your daily affairs more efficiently, more calmly, right? With greater, and therefore with greater effectiveness and productivity as well. Because now you're actually in control of your energy supply, as opposed to constantly running in overdrive, which is what leads to the burnout that you've experienced, that I've also experienced, right?
Yeah.
So important in order to help us thrive as corporate professionals, but also in general as human beings, right?
Of course, and it's affecting all the areas of our lives. And when we are also changing, we see how it affects, for example, if we are in a corporate world, talking about again, how it affects our team, and how maybe even the team atmosphere will change. And we maybe will be, as a leader, putting less effort, but will achieve more, because there's just a different awareness, or in our relationships as well, right? How it will affect our children, how it affect the relationship with our partner, with our friends. It all goes later on the external, of course, but it all starts within. It all starts first within, and when we individually commit ourselves to make those change, to see through and to change ourselves, to be more aware, it happens also on the collective level as well later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you speak a bit about, I think this is a nice transition into just the specific offerings you provide. And you can kind of perhaps give us a bit of an overview of like what services are on the table for people to explore with you, and then if possible to kind of walk us through like what a typical client session might look like, or just a client journey, if possible, to guide us through what that process is, right?
Of course. So I always like to have a first initial conversation with a person, and to see what is the current situation, what the person is, and what is it that the person needs. What are the goals, which sometimes even may not necessarily be the goals that the person is really seeking, because sometimes there's behind something different that we have to discover. But to understand first of all how the starting position is, what it is, what the person needs, and then according to that, I normally really recommend at least to work 2 months together, because normally the brain needs 6 to 8 weeks to create new habits. So if it would be one session, it can be done, of course, but I normally recommend to work together no longer time. And there, for me, it's very important that both sides are committed. So when I'm deciding to work with someone, and I'm truly committed there, and I'm giving 100%, but actually my part is maybe just 20% of the outcome, not even. Right? So for me, it's always very important that the other person is really open to be guided, open to be challenged sometimes too, because those situations happen too, and open to really commit to those the practices that we're doing, even if sometimes there may be an inner struggle or like a resistance coming. So I normally do the length of 6 to 8 weeks. So it can be individual sessions, right? It can be also a program, what I have at the moment, which is an 8-week program. It's based on mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR. Maybe you know that. So this is a very wonderful program that I've been doing myself 2 or 3 times, I think. And this is not completely the same, but this is based on it. So we will go week by week through a different topic. So we're starting really to get first familiar with ourselves, with our physical sensations, with the body, body awareness. Then we go deeper. So we explore our thoughts, we explore our emotions, we explore the open awareness, how it is to be alert, to be open to everything and to be aware of everything, and to have a kind of this bigger picture. And then also the compassion part, which I find for most people is the most difficult one.
Yeah, especially for corporate professionals.
Yeah. Exactly. So, and how does a session normally look like? So normally I have a session of 1 hour. This is like more or less the normal time. I would not recommend to do it less than 45 minutes because it's too short. So what we normally do is we talk in the beginning a little bit about the topic that we're talking about. So it can be, for instance, the thoughts. We're talking a little bit about this. Then we're doing a practice related to that, and then we do like a debrief. So then applying the theory and the practice for to the individual's context. So how was the experience? Okay, what did you notice? Okay, and then later on as well, how can you use what you notice outside of this practice? How do you think, does it make sense what we just did? Why do we do that? So there, going a little bit deeper, so the person, the participant understands, okay, actually what we did makes sense because I have a similar situation and I can do it there too, right? I can try to observe my thoughts outside of meditation. Well, this it involves a little bit of practice, of course, but with the time, exactly. So this is normally one session, theory, practice, and like a debrief.
Okay.
And normally I have, I'm offering it, it's optional to do some little exercises at home, just to learn for yourself, to see how you can integrate those practices in your day-to-day life. So there will be guided meditations that the participant can do on their own. I will send them. It will be included, for example, in the program. Or also some other exercises, so some different practices that someone can do. For example, mindful walking or mindful eating, which would not be part of the session itself. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, but if the person, for example, has already completed the 8 weeks, after that we can always continue to meet on a regular basis, because the actual work also starts after that as well, because then it's about continuing to do the practices, right? Because once we don't do it and we forget it, the effect is gone, unfortunately. So yeah.
And that's what makes the expression mental fitness so relatable, and perhaps even, you know, something that, a concept that those first coming into holistic health in the spiritual journey allows them to grasp with a, you know, just more concreteness. Because just like the physical fitness, if you stop running and, you know, you were training for a marathon and you stop, you know, you kind of lose that cadence, right? You lose the muscle, you lose that training. And in many ways, this the state of clarity that we are aiming for in the journey is very much something that can become diluted, corrupt, just falling back into the staticness that so many people are used to if you stop the training, if you stop the hygiene, if you stop the discipline. And so it very much is not only mental fitness, but it ties into then spiritual fitness, right? Of course. It's all connected. So, yeah. And I love the way that you describe just how integrated it is between the training and then applying into daily life, because it's so true. Like, there is no real separation between the two. You have to practice what you're learning, the theory, right? And that's where all the tests are. The challenges are all in daily life. So that's where, you know, you're really kind of doing the work, if you will.
And this is exactly, and this is also the way you learn the best. How do you learn? If you read something, okay, you may understand it with your mind, and this is great, but you actually really truly understand it once you experience it, right? So once you apply those tools that you know. So this is where later on it comes, like, this is where the learning effect is much more profound, when we see, okay, now I have a situation, we actually learned this during the session. Maybe in the first time I will fail, and it's okay, maybe the second time as well, but the third time will be great. And then maybe the next time it will be the second time, and then so on and so on and so on, until our brain also learns, okay, I don't function the same way anymore. I function differently now.
Yeah.
It takes time for the brain to adapt to this.
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. It does. Rewiring the mind. It's a non-linear process too, right? It's one that you can't put a timeline on, and it's one that sometimes you feel like you're going backwards to go forwards. And that's just the nature of healing and the nature of rewiring the mind. It's often so painful, and it can be a great challenge to go through that, because it's uncomfortable, right? Mm-hmm. To have to go against the inertia of what you're used to build better habits. But, you know, obviously so worth it in terms of its benefits. And that's something I wanted to just come back to, Ali, if it's okay, real quick, which is a little bit more just on your personal story and journey of, can you talk to us about what life was like for you, your state of mind, your state of being, your state of health, when you were what I would call the unawakened state, or just kind of the unconscious state, where you were working in your corporate career, and then talk to how all of those things have evolved since you've started practicing these things and leaned into this journey.
Well, this is a good question. I was totally unaware of like everything possible. I knew I felt stuck, but I was always looking on the external, trying to change jobs. So I was jumping also between jobs, because I felt like always, for me, it was important to have something that kind of resonates with something meaningful, with purpose to do, and not just doing the job for the money. So I was never like this, but I never really truly felt like this appreciation also from the clients, like in the financial industry, coming back. So I was always felt like trapped there. In the relationship, it was difficult. I was very, very impulsive, very reactive, and totally also physically, I had a few problems, right? Like I had some physical conditions, and I tried to do many things, like, again, many diets, many methods, everything from the outside, without actually listening to my body, listening to, okay, where's the dissonance coming from in my job? What is it that I don't feel happy with? What is it that I truly want besides what society says? Because it was a big issue for me too. What do my parents think of what I do? What do my friends think of what I do? What is my my status, basically, my image on the outside? And that was for me very, very difficult to get rid of, because it was very important for me, and I felt identified with that, and I felt identified with the thoughts that I have too about myself. So and then actually everything came naturally. So I had the burnout, right? And this is for me, I had to stop and slow down, and it was the time for me to rest and really to reflect, because I had the time, right? And for me also, I told myself, no, I don't want to continue the way it was. I cannot. I felt very, very unhappy with my life. And then I started to do more yoga and to do all the other practices. I went to the Vipassana retreats for 10 days. And this was for me, like, it opened everything. And I said to myself, okay, now I need to take the responsibility for my life and change something. and step by step, right? So once you start this journey, you don't discover everything at once. Everything step by step, and once one door is opening, then the other door is opening, and then you understand where everything goes. So then I understood, okay, actually what I truly want to do is help people. I want to have a win-win situation where I feel truly fulfilled and I can impact someone's life in a meaningful way, which is what I'm doing now, right? I want to as well like to understand my body. So what happened to me with yoga, actually, I lost in 1 year in kilograms, like 10 kilograms.
Oh, wow.
I was always having troubles with my body. I was doing many diets, nothing was working. My metabolism was very, very bad. Like I really destroyed my metabolism with it. I was able to reestablish my metabolism. I didn't do any diet. I started to eat intuitively, and I lost 10 kilograms, like without doing anything, really.
Amazing.
I felt much more connected with myself, and also from the outside, my friends, my parents, everyone started to tell me, you changed, like what? I don't know you like that, right? So this is always a good confirmation for us that, okay, we're doing a good job.
Yeah.
So I received the feedback from the outside, and I saw, of course, my body changing. I saw that actually befriending with myself and listening to my body instead of working against it is much better for me. Also with stress, so understanding my boundaries, and just because everyone else tells me I have to work the 40 hours per week doesn't mean it's right for me. Right? So understanding that every of us is different, and so am I. So yeah, and this is where everything started to fall in place, and I started to work. I started to receive very good feedback from my clients. Actually, I had one client where it was completely transformation. He decided either to do a program with me or to go to a therapist because this person was in a depression. And this person decided to work with me, and his life completely changed. And even now, this person sometimes writes me and tells me, thank you so much, Adi. You really were a blessing for me. And this is something I never received during all my 10 years in finance.
Yeah.
Never.
I laugh
Never.
because, I mean, it takes one to know one, right? And it's like, I was in that industry too.
Yeah.
And I know I don't, there's no thank yous. There's no gratitude.
Not that much.
There's no heart. It's a little heart. I don't want to make it a bash against or a judgment, right? But it's just through my experience, and I'm hearing through yours too. It's like you were itching for more heart in your doing, more heart in your being, and that's what I'm sensing, and what you're describing. What it's pointing to is that that transition out of your mind and into your heart, and being able to live from a deeper state of connectedness and love, right? And no longer stuck in that fear survival cycle, but actually letting yourself be, and now extending yourself and offering and sharing and giving, and through that getting and receiving, and just creating this beautiful energy flow where now life's working for you and you're living from abundance, and as a result you become healthier. No longer are you swimming in stress chemicals. No longer are you in your own mental illnesses and dysfunction and caught up in the illusions of life. Being able to step out of all of that, and being able now to come back into the world, but to help others, to serve them now from the highest calling. I mean, it's beautiful, and it's such a gift to be able to spend our time on earth this way, and to be able to do it together is what's so inspiring to me, to come together with others who share a like-hearted mission to give back, to serve.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, and I feel like this is so important, because even what I saw in the financial industry, how my situation was like, doesn't mean has to continue this way, right? So the fact that people are overworked, they don't know leadership is not always the best. It's always about performing, about pressure, about never being good enough. It doesn't have to be this way. It can always change. And if there's one, and then there's two, and there's a three, and so on, people who are willing to do those steps and to initiate those changes and to make this impact and say, it can also work differently. We don't have to do it this way, right? Then eventually also the whole industry and the whole corporate world can change. It doesn't have to be in the future like this. But I think really it always starts with ourselves first.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We have to do the first step.
Yes. Always change starts from within, and then extends out. But I am curious, Ali, have you noticed, because I know that you work with corporate professionals and businesses, any type of resistance to these offerings? I'm curious about the level of receptivity from the business standpoint right now, from people like us coming in to offer them a solution that actually would help their ROI and productivity and bring in,
Totally.
it would, right? But can they see that? Are they recognizing it yet in the workplace?
I think it depends on the country. So I myself, I've been doing my coachings before in Europe. So I feel like now I'm in Canada and the market is slightly different. So I feel like here is a bit more openness. Depends what, like fintech, for example, industry, I find is a bit more younger, a bit more open than the conservative banking industry. But also there, I think there is a shift happening at the moment. But still, I feel like people are reserved. Like people maybe are having misconceptions, hear wrong things about those tools, and feel like always, it goes too much into something, I don't know. So for them, it's really important to speak. For me, it's very important to speak in their language, right? And to say, okay, I understand and understand. I was like this too. I was very suspicious about all the holistic and alternative medicine and holistic practices. So what I do is basically I'm trying to talk the language and to put more science there. And there's a lot of science regarding mindfulness, for example, regarding the breath control, right? So we can look at Bruce Lipton, we can look at Joe Dispenza. There are many really famous people out there who have proven that scientifically it really makes sense to do that. So this is basically my approach when it's about the corporate world, to show them not only in practice but in theory what we are doing. I had actually recently a very nice workshop for the VFX industry, for artists, but for creatives. And there I told them why stress is blocking their creativity, because basically when we're in stress, the brain waves are too fast for us to function, to be totally in that zone, right? To be in this creative flow. Yeah. For that, we need to decrease our brain activity. Yep. So, and this is where there was an aha moment and people understood, okay, yeah, it makes sense. So approaching in this way, I find much more easier to connect with the people and to create the openness from their side towards these tools. And once I think they're open, there's much easier to explore further later. Right. But this is always a good first step, I find.
Yeah, yeah. It makes sense too when you got to kind of meet them where they are when you're coming into pre-established systems that have a certain way of doing things that are. It's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, right? So, but the world is changing, and of course, new tricks can be taught. You just kind of have to be mindful of how you go about teaching them. But I really am fired up by the opportunity here to work with you, to help you grow your practice and to support this mission of inspiring sustainable change, so that not only can we make ourselves better, but ultimately the workplaces we reside in and the organizations that we are part of. It's so important, right? And ultimately they will all change because that's where the world's heading. But we need facilitators and providers that are focused on offering these solutions where they can receive them right now, right, based on where they are at, to help bridge them into the future. So
and my tool, the program, for example, that I'm using is very good for beginners. So it can be of course good for someone who would like to dive deeper into mindfulness. But for example, if there's someone who's curious and doesn't know at all what it is all about meditation, about mindfulness, this is perfect. So this is a good start with me to do a program like this, where we really go through different tools, different topics, and to have a profound understanding and practice, and then as well an integration of those practices and the day-to-day life.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm excited, Ali. I think this is a good place to wrap up. But for everyone who tuned in, you can find Ali and her partner profile in our member forum with her background, bio, booking links to direct with her directly, or booking links to work with her directly, excuse me, and any discounts for the community. So all of that's in there. And Ali, I'm really excited for this, to help see how this evolves over time. I mean, the world is heading in this direction. More and more businesses and professionals are stepping into alternative solutions because the traditional things simply aren't working. If they were, we would see a downtrend in the data, right? From mental illness to addiction to suicide to overdoses to everything. It's
burnout, the highest ever. Like it's costing the industry, by the way, so much money. It costs the company so much money, the burnouts.
It really does. And that's where, this is a genuine investment from business professionals, those, CEOs down, who are making these decisions strategically for their companies. This is becoming a necessity and no longer a luxury. And so I'm really excited that you're a part of the community and going to be facilitating this mission. And I'm really looking forward to helping you with it.
Thank you so much. I'm very grateful to be part of the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And hopefully I can help many members out there with their mental fitness, with their first step on their journey.
Yeah.
Wherever they are at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Blessings to come. Lots of beautiful growth and healing to come. And we're just getting started. So thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.